56. Collectively, we are the Mind of Men. Don't forget to follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter, at 52 Scott Podcast, on Instagram and Facebook, the 52 Scott Podcast, and for all my YouTubers, don't forget to like and subscribe. And welcome to another Black Friday. Okay, fellas, so with all of this inflation that's going on, and people who are trying to make ends meet, and robbing Peter to pay Paul, and it seems like there's just not enough money. It got me to thinking, man, it is expensive to be poor. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm going to say that again because I know that sounds a little crazy, but it is expensive to be poor.
Is that an oxymoron?
That's the word I was looking for. Oxymoron. I said,
oxymoron? And think about it. Think about a woman who has to pay for child care, daycare, and she doesn't make a lot of money on her job,
right? Mm-hmm.
But she has no one to watch her children, and in some cases, a family member would charge you to watch your child.
Yeah, in a lot of cases, anybody.
And she has to make a decision: do I pay my last $100 for somebody to watch my child, or do I take this $100 to go and pay the gas bill or get some food with it? She got a choice to make.
It's tough.
And all I got is $100. And check this out. That $100, that's expensive to me because I really can't afford for you to pay this $100 for you to watch my child.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
But all I got is $100, which means that I'm poor.
Yeah.
Because that's all I got.
Right.
So it is expensive to be poor.
Yeah. It costs more to not have than to have.
Exactly. The babysitting part, because I have plenty sections that I need to talk about being expensive, being poor. So when I was growing up, we were very poor. I ain't ashamed to talk about it. We were. So there was sometimes we were left with babysitters that were questionable. I ain't gonna lie. We know damn well. But one thing about it, my mom could catch it quick and say, "Oh hell, no, I'll never do it again," because they were either paying nothing, they'll watch us for free, but it was always something behind that. You get what I'm saying? Free ain't always good. Cheap ain't always good. But we were very poor, so we had no choice. So sometimes those cheap decisions, even though we're poor and it's more expensive, sometimes you gotta. But there was no sacrifice that could be made. I was finna say you got to sacrifice, but there was no sacrifice that could be made because we were not. She wasn't able to afford it. So it is expensive to be poor because you can't pay for the babysitter even though you need it because she got to go to work. My mom got to go to work. She got to do all this. She got to go make the money, but the little money that she's making, she still got to get food, pay rent, all that. Mm-hmm. Babysitter is honestly, it's expensive, man. Yeah, so it's expensive to be poor.
Yeah,
and a lot of times in those situations, man, depending on the age of the kids, that's when kids get left at home alone,
right?
Which is it's a risk that you're taking because a lot of things can happen, which could cause you more money,
right?
Depending on the kids say they did some type of damage in the household or a fire started or something, just doing something that kids do, but because of the young age, and mom's not being able to afford daycare,
right?
She chose to leave them at home. Those are some of the choices that I think when you're in that type of position of poverty, you have to make those type of decisions which are uncomfortable a lot of times.
Yeah.
Another instance is we all growing old.
Right.
You can't stop that, and depending on your health condition, you may obtain some type of illness to where you need medicine on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And we all know medicine nowadays is hella expensive.
Yeah. If you don't have insurance.
If you on a fixed income, where you're like you said earlier, not bringing in much. What do you do in those type of situations?
Right.
You know, they do have generic medicine, which is, you know, a workaround, but it's not as good as what you need.
Exactly. And that's another point. Growing up, you know, you have medicines that you may need. As far as kids, as far as what you just said, no, it's you know, I'm just giving you an example. That was another issue that we had. So you know how we'll go to the store and you know you have name brands like Sudafed and Benadryl and stuff like that. Growing up, we couldn't get that. We had to get the DG Dollar General, the what's that? Family Dollar brand, the ones that are $1 because
The generic brand
yeah,
was cheaper.
Because the
Right.
Benadryl, the actual real stuff, is $4-5.
Yeah.
But when you're not making that kind of bread, you gotta buy the dollar kind and just hope for the best.
Now, being in a tax bracket with a lot of other Americans, and I'm not in the greatest tax bracket. I'm not in the tax bracket where they get so many cuts. My tax bracket keep getting taxed more and more and more. And then my neighbor, he don't even go to work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm paying your portion
Yeah.
of these taxes. I'm poor. Wait a minute. No, feel me.
Yeah.
This is expensive for you not to be working, man.
Exactly. You looking at him.
Especially if he's ready by the enabled.
Hey, man, if you got
Yeah.
a way to get up and you can go to work, man,
real
go.
shit.
Yeah.
Because you not doing it is causing all the rest of us poor people
Yeah.
to pay for what we can't afford. You're making it cost more for us. And with this election nearing, you know, if we don't get the right person in office, it's gonna be worse.
It's gonna get worse, I agree.
You know what I mean? And what's sad is already, you see what I just said. Everybody is in the same fucking tax bracket. Either you rich or you poor.
Right.
It's already that. Because I can go to work, but if I don't save my money, I'm 2 weeks away from being homeless just like him.
Yeah, 1 or 2 paychecks away.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's expensive being poor because we ain't got what it takes
Exactly.
to survive like the people that's got the money because we paying more in taxes and they getting the tax breaks.
Freddie G, when I hear that title, it's expensive being poor. The first word that comes to my mouth is sacrifices, and see it a lot. Sacrifices. That means something that I need and I really need, I'm gonna have to sacrifice for something that I need even more. Get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree.
And that's when you say it, I know it sounds like an oxymoron, but that's the first thing comes to my mind because it's like everything you need, even though I hate to say it like this, like just say with a female. It could be a time, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think she may have done this a couple of times. My mom might have needed tampons and did not because we needed food more. Get what I'm saying? And probably
She
sacrifice
sacrificed.
and use something else, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know what females would use other than tampons or whatever. But I think there's times that she's done that so that we can eat.
Yeah.
So sacrifice is the word that come to my mind.
Well, you know, families is where the sacrifices come in because I think if we were all on our own, that title still could and would apply to us. However, I know we would be able to adjust and maintain and make it versus where if we had kids and we had responsibilities, that's where it impacts us and affects us more so, in my opinion.
Right.
The phrase, you know, it's expensive to be poor is what I'm speaking of.
Yeah.
So on the flip side of that, is it expensive being rich?
I think it's different with rich people because the expense is there.
Yeah, I don't even think they
You know what I-
identify expensive, the
It-
word
right.
expensive.
You know what I'm saying? If that makes any sense. What we say expenses are, we don't have it.
Right.
What expenses are to them, they already got it. You feel what I'm saying?
They wouldn't consider it as expensive.
They don't have to save for that trip to 6 different continents. We have to. If you get what I'm saying, we have to save for that. Their money, that's already there. That expense is already there in their budget.
I get it. So
I would say it's expensive getting rich, not already rich, but getting. I was listening to a show one time, and the guy was saying, "Man, when you get to that first 100,000, the harder once you hit the second 100,000, it's easy, but hitting that second 100,000 is probably the most difficult task you're gonna have." Because it's like you have taxes, you have all this going on. He said, but once you get to the second 100,000, it's pretty much uphill because of the interest and everything. He said, but getting rich is harder because of everything that's being pulled as you're getting rich. You know, taxes and stuff like that. So stuff is being pulled. I guess you know your money, your whatever else you got to pay.
Well, your expenses are higher now.
Yeah, exactly.
okay,
Overhead.
so now y'all got me thinking, because we do agree that. Well, I'm asking, do we agree that it is expensive being poor?
Yeah, I agree.
Yes.
I think
Yeah.
that's
I agree.
majority.
Now,
agree.
now, we're not so sure if it's expensive being rich.
Nah.
I don't think it's expensive
I
being
don't-
rich.
I
Because
don't
again,
either.
I don't think they identify the word or even recognize anything that's expensive.
It's different.
Depending on how
Okay,
you
so let me throw a figure out there, right?
That's
Let's say there's a millionaire who is 20 million strong.
Mm-hmm.
He has $20 million. And do you believe that his car, his house, and other luxuries that he may want would be the same as a poor person? Meaning that, like, if a poor person lived in an apartment, the poor person may be paying, let's say, $1,100. $1,200 a month for rent. Mm-hmm. Do you think that rich person would be living in a $1,200 a month apartment?
He could.
But do you think he would?
No.
Do that? I mean, he could. Because he could. But do you think that he would,
no,
or she would?
no, I don't.
Now, because at this point, it's more or less the expense of what I want is there. So whatever the cost, whatever expense is, I'm going to do it because I know I got a bank account of this type of money. So, like, I don't think they see expensive. You know what I'm saying? I don't think the price tags of nothing to them is expensive because, and like I said, the expense is already there. They don't have to go and find the money. They already got it. You see what I'm saying? I just don't see it being. Now, what they have and their lifestyle is expensive.
Yeah. And the reason why I ask that is because I think about these athletes. And one of the things in the NFL, they go through a rookie symposium. And during this rookie symposium, they have other athletes that'll come back to speak to them. And some of those other athletes tell them how they went from having millions to being broke.
Yeah.
And that was
And some of these or some of these athletes will come to speak to them and say, "Hey, I'm rich. I was able to keep my millions, and here's how I did it." And they give examples of, I did it because there's only one of me, and I don't need 15 cars.
Right.
All I need is one car. I don't need 3 or 4 houses. All I need is one house. So I'm careful about my spending. I don't need to go out and buy this jewelry. I can get this little jewelry, and this is okay. So
I got it. This the question that you didn't factor in. $20 million. How many friends and family are they supporting? Seems like everybody that come up, they like to make sure they don't, abandon their family or friends. If you got too many friends and too many family, that $20 million can go fast.
That might be where that phrase "it's expensive to is it
Yeah.
expensive to be
Expensive
rich
being
comes
rich.
into play. Yeah.
Yeah, that can be it. That can be factored.
I heard Birdman talking about, man, I gotta be able to put my family, my friend, either. And he said, man, I don't care. And the guy asked him, he said, man, even if you ain't really knowing like that, man, I can't do that. That's my friend. I'm like, you got a lot of friends that you giving millions
and
to.
he's allegedly
Well, some. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no,
Slash.
he's allegedly facing losing one of his big homes allegedly
Wow.
just now, not long ago.
Well, a lot of that be survivor's remorse. A lot of that be feeling like, okay, I made it. I got to bring some people along because, here I am. I'm here. I got the bread. I can do this, So let me bring some people along. So a lot of that be survivor's remorse, man.
Yeah, but it's more expensive
Yeah.
when you do that.
Yeah,
You're
I
trying
mean,
to-
initially that's what you want to do, but at the same time,
Can you afford it?
Can you
there you go.
afford
I
it?
mean, how long can you go
Yeah.
on
And I
doing
don't
some
think
shit
20
like
million
that?
is enough. I'm gonna be honest.
No,
That'll
because
go in
you're-
about 5 years if you supporting a bunch of families.
You
and
have a
friends.
lifestyle at the same time. Now, like Freddie G was saying, the one millionaire said, hey, I don't need all these cars. You have to be frugal with $20 million, if it makes sense. You know what I'm saying? You don't need the $15 million home. You can get you a nice $2-3 million home. If you even want to, you could go 500,000 and still be nice in certain neighborhoods here in Texas.
in Texas.
So yeah, you don't have to spend it all. You don't have to make your expenses,
That high.
too far to
Right.
reach. Because of course, then it's gonna be expensive.
But
to
if
be
you
rich.
if you getting 10 people, even if they $250,000 homes, you already over $1 million.
well, if you give, I think like this: if
Too
you
big.
give 10 people $1 million,
Uh-huh.
9 of them gonna be broke in a year.
Oh, definitely.
I can agree with
I
that.
can agree with that, definitely. Because they're gonna be looking to you for another $1 million later after they done
Where
spent it.
I got it before, I can go back and get it again.
Guarantee. Yep.
Freddie G, you mentioned earlier about a millionaire. I think you said it was a millionaire that would a millionaire live in a $1,200 apartment?
Yeah.
And I think, for one, their taste is not going to allow them to live in that type of in my opinion, I don't think that the taste that they have would allow them to live in a $1,200 apartment. It wouldn't be good enough for them. And I know I'm stereotyping by making a comment like that, but I just don't feel people that have money would live in an area like that. Why would they?
So let me throw a monkey wrench in it all. You said that you don't think it would be good enough for them, right?
Right.
Let's throw a monkey wrench in it all. And let's keep it a buck.
Yeah.
Let's keep it a buck. Let's keep it a buck.
Yes, sir.
We're all poor,
Right.
right? Well, we're all middle class.
Yeah.
We're all middle class. Right now, think about where you currently live. You don't have to disclose it, but think about where you currently live.
And I was given $1 million.
And you were given $20 million.
I'm moving.
What?
I'm moving too.
I'm moving.
yeah.
I'm moving too.
It's simple.
Today.
Yeah. So when you said you don't when you say you don't think that their taste or something to the effect would allow them to,
Right.
it was good enough for us now.
Yeah.
It's good enough for us to live where we live in now.
But when you give me that 20
yeah,
million,
that's what I'm saying.
That's not gonna be good
so
enough.
he'll say it's good enough for us now.
Yeah.
So what changes? What changes when we get to 20 million? if it's good enough for us
amount
now,
of money, because we ain't never had it before.
Well, I mean, I feel like more or less now we're selling for what we can afford.
Right.
Right.
That's a difference.
here's the thing. I'm glad you said that. So I'm gonna throw another monkey wrench in it. Let's say you're settling for what you can afford, and hypothetical,
Yes, sir.
where you're staying right now. Let's say it costs $200 a month. Where you're staying right now. Well, you know that they have places that cost $50 a month. You can afford that too. Why aren't you staying where it costs $50 a month and it'll save you $150, but you choose to stay?
Well, if you
Where it
put,
costs
you know why?
$200.
Because where it's $50 at the bathroom in the middle of the floor.
Yeah, everybody
And
probably
everybody
sharing one
looking
bathroom.
at the same bathroom.
You know, it's certain amenities that we would want to take advantage of
Right.
if we're able to.
Okay, so again, there's certain amenities you would want to take advantage of, right? So that means that where you're staying now, technically, you're not actually settling for where you're staying.
No,
now.
it's just a resting point.
Because you can actually afford to stay where it costs $50 at.
Facts.
If you were settling, you would stay where it costs $50.
Yeah, that's not a settle.
So
Yeah.
so if you had 20 million, would you actually stay where you're staying now? I damn sure won't.
No, I'm not. I'm going to move.
No brainer, though.
So I
I
got
would think that's a no brainer.
I'm moving.
yeah
For sure.
So okay, that's a good one. Now I want to ask you this, Freddie G. Angel Reese just currently came on Shaq's podcast, and she talked about her rent. Her rent is $8,000 a month. However, she only makes $74,000 in the WNBA. Her salary is $74,000 and some change. You want to speak on that?
Yeah, I do want to speak on
Yeah.
that. I'll tell you why.
Right.
See, there's some celebrity that comes with her.
Right.
So the expectation of what she should have,
It's going to be much more.
it's a little different because of the celebrity. Now, you mentioned her WNBA salary. We don't know
Her endorsements.
what her endorsements are.
Right.
We don't know that.
Now that's why I'm coming. This is the question I want to ask you because I don't know anything about the endorsements. Do they last after you're out of the NBA? Like when you're done?
contract.
okay. Well,
Okay.
listen. How you invest your money while you're making the money will help you in the long run. Let me give you an example. There's an NBA player, since you were speaking of NBA, there's an NBA player. He was young. He's not a star at all. But he did have some local endorsements. Keyword local. He wasn't a star. So let's say he was making the bare minimum. Well, hypothetical. Let's say he was making $1 million on his NBA contract, right? True story. His mama told him, because he was young.
Yeah.
His mama told him, don't you trust that check, them checks that they sending you. He lived off of his endorsement money. Local endorsement. No major deal. These are local companies that you only way you saw his television commercials and you saw little things is if you went to that city.
Right.
So he lived off of those endorsements, the endorsement money. He played in the league for probably about a decade. And, of course, over time, he started making a little bit more money in the league. But when he got out, he had bread stacked
From the checks.
from
he
the
never
checks,
cashed.
his NBA checks
He
Yeah.
chose not to cash.
that he never cashed. Now he's taking those NBA checks and he made investments. So, Comedian 96, when you speak of Angel Reese and when you speak of her apartment and the amount of money that she's making, and we don't know about the endorsement, what the endorsements are, but let's say she don't have any endorsements. We know she do, but let's just say she don't. And she's making $74,000 a year, whatever her salary is, based upon what you just told me. And her apartment is $8,000 a month.
Don't add up.
Well, it's the celebrity that plays a part in that her living like that. Then you got to think about who she actually paid for and what the economy is there.
When I think
And then because of her celebrity, everybody can't have access to her like that.
right.
So she got to be somewhere.
Some danger to
Right.
play a part in that.
You got a point.
So
You got a point.
so wherever she's playing at, we don't know what the economy is like and what it costs to live there. Now we all agree that to live here in Houston is not expensive compared to other places.
Right.
But we also know that living here in Houston is starting to cost a little bit more.
Yeah, it's going up.
It's costing a little
because
bit
of
more.
the amount of
just
people
speaking
moving
of that, I know she has an endorsement, but it reverses the topic of this. Is it poor being rich? Because
No, is it poor
I
being?
mean, because that's a choice she's making.
Is it poor? Now, is it rich being? I mean, is it?
The topic is it expensive being
poor?
It's expensive being poor. And I asked the question is,
Right.
on the flip side, is it expensive being rich? Now take off on what you wanted to say.
I wanted to say, is it?
I think that's what you was trying to say.
I call it because it to me just that. Why would you pay $8,000? I'm sorry.
I just told you.
I get it, but you could.
First of all, you got to think of her safety. She's a celebrity. You got to think of her safety. So if you paying $8,000 of where you're staying,
you could pay security $150 a night.
That is right there. I agree with you. I hate to say that shit. I mean,
you can pay security $150 and B will come out $150 a night. Here's the thing. Be cheaper.
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. I don't know her current situation.
Yeah.
But here's what you got to factor in, and let's keep it a buck, right?
Yeah.
Number one, the housing market where she stays. That's number one.
Yeah.
We don't know.
I agree. That's the first thing that has to be considered.
And number two, man, we know how fans are. Mm-hmm. And then too, she's not a bad looking chick. Mm-mm. We don't know what kind of stalkers and what kind of
that's
people
true.
that we have after her. Then too, people may be obsessed with her. People may be mad because she missed a shot or something. We don't know that stuff. So she has to kind of be careful on that. Now, I know I would want to live in a place that's really secure.
So where does she live? Is it a building? Is it her own house, or what? How is this going? I mean,
I don't
what
know.
are we doing?
Her, she her apartment is $8,000 a month.
Her apartment.
Yeah.
So that means it's an apartment.
It's
complex.
an apartment. $8,000.
Well, it could be a high rise.
Right. It could be a high.
Sure it is.
It could be a high rise.
It's got to be for that.
Okay.
Amount of money.
Well, I forgot what team she played for. King is
Chicago Sky.
Chicago Sky. Think
So
about
Chicago.
Think about the cost of living in Chicago.
Yeah.
Think about the cost of living
like
in
Houston,
Chicago.
huh? Maybe.
Nah.
It's a little higher.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna
yeah.
be higher.
Okay.
It's gonna be higher.
So that alone, knowing she live in Chicago, and then we know about the gangs and all that stuff
yeah.
in Chicago.
It's dangerous.
True.
She gotta live
she live in a high rise.
somewhere decent.
She's living in a high rise.
And then two, let's give her the benefit of the doubt, right? Let's give her the benefit of the doubt. Not to make this whole show about Angel Reese.
Yeah.
But let's give her the benefit of the doubt. She's college educated, so she's smart enough to know whether or not she can afford to live
For $8,000
for
a month.
$8,000 a month with the salary that she makes and whatever it does. Then on top of that, I'm sure she have financial advisors. I'm sure she have attorneys. I'm sure.
No financial advisor tell her to get an $8,000 apartment. I think she did that shit on her own. I don't give a damn. Whoever financial advisor told you to get an $8,000 goddamn apartment, unless it's free.
Trust me, the endorsement she has, that's
But
chump
see,
change.
endorsements is why you play. I think that's the thing. Now, if it goes on after she's gone and retired and she keep getting the money, then I'm gonna shut the hell up. But if it's just while you're playing and it's a possibility you can lose it, it's not guaranteed money.
Let me ask you this.
I can't.
Let me ask you this. Let's keep it
can't
a buck.
agree with it.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Let's say her endorsements is all of her endorsements together is $5 million.
$8,000. That's still way too much for some of them.
Now let's go back to the NIL deals. When she was playing in college, she was a big name. She had NIL deals.
Making big money.
She was making $1 million.
So she was making big money then.
She was making $1
She
million.
still got
$1
money.
So really truthfully, if you playing in the league, your contract endorsement say this, you keep balling, you know more contracts gonna come. $8 million ain't bad. I mean $8,000
Right, it's
ain't
not.
bad.
But contracts are not guaranteed. It's like
I understand
it's like
what
your
contract-
job. Yeah,
I understand
It's like
contract.
your job. Like your job is guaranteed. You ain't going nowhere. Now, if on the side they say, "Hey, we got a little project on the side. You're gonna make this $500 extra every week," but that project is not guaranteed to stay.
Let me
you know
ask
what I'm
you
saying?
this. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
You don't have to. I don't want you to. I do not want you to reveal what vehicle you drive.
Right. Okay.
Do you pay a note on that vehicle?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, are you living above your means with riding in that vehicle?
No.
Okay. I believe that. Now, with that being said, why didn't you go and get a Toyota Tercel? Why?
Oh,
No, because you don't have to ride in the vehicle that you ride in.
You're right.
Pretty much the
You're
same
right.
reason Angel Reese is in the type of apartment
but
she in.
here's the difference between her and I. Eventually, I will own mine. Eventually.
Okay,
she's in an apartment. I can see she was in a house. I shut the hell up.
Time out.
Yeah.
Everybody know. First of all,
Yeah.
she ain't got no. I'm assuming she ain't got no kids, no illegitimate kids or whatever. I shouldn't say illegitimate, but no kids and stuff like that, right?
Right.
Everybody know when you in the league, you better not buy no house where you staying at because you don't know if you get traded and where you going.
Yeah, that's true. That's
you
true.
better not.
That's true.
So you need to be renting.
But at least own. She can sell it, but I'm just saying.
You don't
At least
need to
own.
be-
At least own it.
Man, why? Listen.
Why would you pay $8,000 a month for something you don't
Bro,
own?
I'm sure eventually
and
she
never
will
can
buy
own?
some property.
Eventually,
sorry.
she made.
I give it y'all on the side, but it's just still.
Now,
once I pay that first win, I'll be like, I'm done.
Let me say this. Let me say this here too.
Yeah.
Because here's some things to think about. I
Yeah.
can't believe that this show done turned into Angel Reese, right?
Yeah, it did.
But so check this out.
Yeah.
Do you know whether or not she got a roommate?
She doesn't have a room. It's just her apartment.
Okay, she said her apartment.
Mm-hmm.
Now, me and you were roommates, and I was talking to somebody, I say my apartment. If me and Comedian 96 were roommates, and I was talking to somebody, I'd be like, hey, man, come over to my apartment. I didn't tell him I had a roommate, but it's still my apartment.
Yeah. But she doesn't
So,
have a roommate, so we should
how do
leave.
you
Well,
know?
it wasn't said.
It wasn't said that she had a
But
roommate.
That's what I'm
That means
saying.
she
That's
doesn't
what I'm
have
saying.
one.
It wasn't said that she had a roommate.
Don't quote me on this. Alleged. I want to say Shaq asked that you got a roommate.
Nah,
I
he
want to
didn't
say that.
He didn't say that. I'm telling you.
Okay, all right.
I'm telling you.
Okay, does she have a roommate?
I'm telling you. That's my whole point.
Yeah.
My whole point
Even if
is
she had a roommate, 4,000 is a lot. Shit. Half of that is still
man.
a lot.
Anyway, this to turn into the Angel Reese show.
Yeah, it
So
did.
with that being said, let me come to a close, man. I'm going to bring this to a close here, man. So the bottom line, the title of this show is, it's expensive to be poor. We all agreed on that. But I'll say this. In regards to my black fact, you can't take back. I want to give a shout out to all of the poor, enslaved Africans who built this country. Their offsprings are now holding prominent positions in America, like mayors of the city, congressmen and congresswomen, senators, etc. We've made progress. And yes, it's expensive to be poor, but we're on the right track to riches. This concludes another dope episode of Black Friday. Tune in next week for Music Monday. Don't forget to follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter, at 52 Scott Podcast, on Instagram and Facebook, the 52 Scott Podcast, and for all my YouTubers, don't forget to like and subscribe.